Easy.
What's gross?
This one's gross. That's what's gross.
Ew. Ew. What do you mean ew?
Stick your. It's good.
I think I made it to a heart.
Yep.
You pretty
Wiggle
much
your
have to
fingers.
get,
Yeah, like this. Look it.
you
Look
have
it.
to get pretty far up in there.
Just go like.
Hello friends, hi, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Darian. I'm a wife, a mom, a business owner, I'm a caregiver. I'm all the things rolled into one, which means I'm busy. If you're seasoned, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. So today's Farmstead Financial Friday one. We're filming it later in the day. I wanted to have my coffee on the porch tonight because it's just so nice out. You can hear all the birds. We've had like a couple days of bad storms, so it's really peaceful right now. So we're gonna do it out here tonight instead of, usually I film these in the morning time, but I'm liking this vibe right now. So anyway, friends, welcome back. Today's video, we're gonna be talking about chickens, specifically layer chickens, and today's main topic with that is it worth it to have layer chickens on your homestead? And that's a lot to unpack. I was debating doing a video on what it costs to raise our layers, but I don't know if that's worth a video. I'll think about it and decide that on another one, but we're gonna discuss if it's worth it. I have, as you know, my handy dandy notes, and we're gonna discuss if it's worth it for you to have chickens on your homestead, because that is the old age question that everyone always asks is, you know, is it actually worth it? Is it actually worth it? And I have the numbers to tell you if it is or if it isn't, depending on your situation. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so first off, if we're going to figure out if chickens are worth it on your homestead, the main thing is, do you eat eggs? I know that sounds really silly, but we know people who don't use eggs. So do you use eggs in your household? And then with that in mind, how many eggs do you go through in a month? Say for a month, let's figure it out. Our family on a low end, we go through, I wrote it down. On a low end, our family goes through about 12 dozen eggs a month. On a high end month, we go through about 20 dozen. So a high end month for us would be like December, so like Christmas, you know what I mean, like holiday things or things that we know we have a lot of baking or extra things to do. Like if we're hosting more, I'll make a couple dozen of deviled eggs, so like stuff like that. So months where we host more, you know, we go through more eggs obviously, but like on a standard month we go through about 12 dozen eggs in our household for our family of 5. We cook a lot from scratch, we eat eggs, you know, all the things with them. We even feed eggs to our dogs, so that's what we do. And so I kind of base my numbers a little bit around that, just a little bit, but I don't have a whole lot of specific numbers for you on my case because there's just a lot involved, right? But I'm gonna give you like a generic to go to figure it out from for yourself. So here in Southern Ontario, specifically in the area that we are located in, you have 2 options for how you want to get your eggs. First off, you can buy, or 3 technically. You can buy day-old chicks. You can buy RTLs, which are ready to lays. They're 18 to 20 weeks, and so they are legit ready to start laying, or they're starting to lay like little peewees, you know. And then your third option is hatching eggs and then hatching your chickens out yourself. There is pros and cons to all 3 of these options. We have done all 3 of these options in the past. To be honest with you, when we just moved to our new homestead a few months ago, we actually bought RTLs, and I do not like to buy RTLs. You pay a lot more money for them. I understand why you do, but it's just, you know, it's a big cost. But we were at the season where we needed to add 5 or 6 more hens, and my grandfather was placing an order, and when you get chickens, there's a discount bracket. So it's like 1 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 50. I don't know what it is off by heart, but there's brackets, and you get price breaks when you buy so many. Well, my grandfather always purchases where the price break is the big one. So we had just thrown on 5 layers onto his order. So it'd be a little bit cheaper for us. So it brought the cost down from $16.90. It brought it down to $14.90. So you save a little bit when you buy a lot, but then there's other costs when you buy a lot. Anyway, so you can buy day-old chicks. In my area, they range anywhere from $4.90 to $6.85. I just logged in and checked on our local feed store to see what the price is as of today. So that is the price. Now, the reason there's a price gap is because you can get your basic brown layer, white layer. There's actually names for these breeds, but just to sum it up, we're gonna say that. And then the higher end ones of $6.85 for those chicks, those are gonna be your fancier breeds. They might lay a brown egg or a white egg, but a lot of the times they lay a colored egg. So there's like blues, there's greens, different shades. There's a funky dark brown on a Marin. Oh, it's a beautiful color egg. Different breeds, you're gonna get different color eggs. But anyway, you get different price points based on the breed. Your ready to lays in our area range from $16.90 to $23.50. And once again, that all varies on the breed. So the $16.90 one are the Rhode Island Red. So those are the most typical ones in our area. They're a brown. The hen is kind of like a brownie with like a tinge of red. I don't know how to describe it. They're beautiful birds. But then when you get up to the $23.50 birds, then you're getting once again into your other breeds. So you have like your Lavender Orpington, you have your Easter Eggers, which they're also called Americanos. So like there's different breeds. So you pay based on your breed. I will say personally, we enjoy a colorful egg basket. So we have so many different breeds on our homestead because I like to have the pretty colors in my eggs. There is no other reason than that. Maybe a slight one. My husband likes specific birds too because they look pretty. It's a pretty bird. But yeah, so then your third option is to hatch your own eggs. Now, hatching your own eggs has a lot more cost to it. If you are a homesteader and you are going to, you're going to be, going through the cycle of laying chickens and meat chickens, I highly recommend you get an incubator. We actually have 3 of them. One is not my favorite. 2 of them are identical, and we got a really good deal on them, and they hold 36 eggs each. So the only reason we have 3 is because one was given to us, and it's very old. It does not work very well. But we bought 2 because we do our own. We hatch out our own egg layers, we hatch out our own meat birds, and in the past we've also hatched out ducks, turkey, and quail. So it's nice having 2 incubators going at the same time, so I could have like my quail or my duck and my chicken in a separate one because they're different hatching dates, so they're different incubation periods. So to buy hatching eggs in our area right now, they're going for anywhere from $10 to $120 a dozen. It is so crazy. Oh my gosh. So if you are paying $10 for a dozen hatching eggs in my area, those are going to be called a barnyard mix. Most of the time that's what they are. And that's exactly what it sounds like. You have a mixture of chickens, you don't know what you're going to hatch out. We like to do those. We think they're a lot of fun because you don't know what you're going to get. Now, the other downfall to, in my opinion actually the only downfall to hatching out your own layers is you don't know if you're going to hatch out a hen or a rooster. That's the only thing that's not, great. So you take a risk when you hatch out your own ones. So if you're willing to take that risk, and you can keep your roosters, you can, when we do that, our roosters end up being meat roosters for soup. We don't waste anything on our farm, obviously, and sometimes we've had hatch rates where we have way more roosters than what we need hatched. So we'll just still raise them up, and then they'll be soup birds. So if you're going to be hatching out eggs, the other thing is the price of the incubator. They range from anywhere from the cheapest one, I just looked on Amazon today. The cheapest one I could find was $69, and you can get up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars for an incubator. We have our 2 good ones, our Little Giant brand, and I think they're about $150 each. We bought those ones because it also has the egg turner, because you have to turn your eggs every day. There's a lot that goes into hatching eggs. So those are your 3 different options if you're gonna have egg layers. But with each option, there's pros and cons which each way you're gonna go, and there's cost differences in each route that you're gonna go. So first off, if you purchase hatching eggs, like I said, anywhere from $10 to $120 a dozen for the eggs alone, and then you have to invest in your incubator, which is a one-time fee, don't get me wrong. So then you invest in your incubator, so then there's like say $70 minimum. And then when that's done, when they hatch out, you have to make sure you have a brooder ready for them, which then you need a heat lamp, a whole setup for them. Those are one-time costs too, but they're still costs you need to consider if it's worth it for you and your homestead. We have friends who homestead and they don't hatch out their own. They actually just get them from one of their friends that homesteads and hatches them out, which is such a great thing in my opinion, because that is the purpose of community, right? So like, if you know somebody that has an incubator and you know, you can say, hey, can you hatch me out some? That's like perfect. That's amazing. Even barter for it, trade them. Like, what do you do on your homestead that you could give them for some baby chicks? You know what I mean? So you have all those costs involved. If you buy ready to lay birds, they are pricier, like I said, anywhere from $16.90 to $23.50 a bird. Really, that's your only cost for them. And then their feed is about $17 a bag. Everyone's gonna go through a different amount of feed on their homestead, so I can't even give you a guesstimate, because like, we don't go through nearly as much as a lot of other people do, because we have other ways to feed our animals. So that's, you know, your cost with that one is pretty straightforward. Obviously you have your cost of your coop too, and your, you know, your pen and stuff like that. But I wasn't gonna get into that one per se. And then so your day olds, that one is anywhere from $4.90 to $6.85. Your costs with those ones are, a lot of the times with day olds, you have to make sure you have a brooder, or somewhere really warm to keep them, because they're literally a day old. So they're just like if they came out of the incubator, right? So you kind of have to keep them separate than just throwing them outside in the pen right away. And then they need a special food to start with, and it's called starter. It's called chick starter, and it's a medicated, pelleted, smaller pieces of pelleted food for the chicks. So that one in my area is $18 a bag, and you go through a handful of those bags with your chicks, depending how many chicks you have. And then after so long, you move on to your layer ration, which is what I was saying was the $17 a bag. Yeah. So you have all those different options, and you know, you need to do what's right for you. And so with that being said, the other thing that I wrote down that I want to mention is the price of actual eggs themselves. So eggs in our area, I was just looking on the grocery apps, and they range anywhere from $4 to $8 a dozen in the grocery stores. If you get eggs from a farmer, directly from a farmer in our area, a roadside stand, anything like that, a homesteader, they're $6 a dozen. We sell ours for $6 a dozen. I know everyone else that I've talked to sells theirs for $6 a dozen. I actually don't know anyone else who sells them for a different price in our area, unless you have like a deal worked out with them where if you buy so many. But so $6 a dozen. So on a low month, that would cost us $72 in eggs, or on a high month, $120 in eggs. It does not cost us that much on our homestead to raise our chickens. We are also very fortunate that we sell just enough of our farm eggs that actually covers our bill for our feed, which then gives us all of our eggs essentially like balance out with that, in one sense. Something else that I would like to note, because we've had a lot of people say this to us, and a lot of people say, well, you know, the eggs don't cost you anything, why do you charge for them? So I have to buy the feed, I have to buy the chicks or hatch them out, there's fees included. I have to muck out their chicken coop. That your time is worth something. And I see a lot of homesteaders that don't think their time is worth something, but your time is worth something. So your time to muck out their stalls or their chicken coop, your time it takes to collect eggs, feed them, water them, that all takes time out of your day. So it's not really free per se when you're doing labor for it too. But we like to just sell. We don't have a sign at the road or anything. We like to sell. There's a specific person that buys a specific amount, and it covers all of our feed costs for the month. And we're very blessed by that. We're very fortunate, because then we can turn around and we give my mother-in-law and her spouse 2 dozen eggs every single week. My brother-in-law gets 12 eggs every week now. We have eggs to give to our friends and family if we want to. And that's the great thing about it. So my in-laws and my brother-in-law and, you know, some of our friends, they all love farm eggs, but none of them want chickens. None of them. And that's okay, because we have them already. So we added a handful of extra birds just because we wanted to make sure we had enough to be able to supply, you know, everyone in our circle. And our cost wise, whether you're raising 10 chickens or 20 chickens, your cost is not going to be that drastic in my opinion, where it's going to make a difference. You're just going to get more eggs. Like you're going to go out and still feed, you're still going to clean, you're still going to do everything. So the way we look at it is, if we have X amount of birds, it's not going to hurt us at all. So that's kind of what we do in that. So for us, it is 100% worth it. If you don't like chickens, then it is not worth it for you. If you are not a fan of chickens and you don't want to clean them out, you don't want to deal with broody hens, you don't want to deal with roosters, then don't do it. I highly recommend you find another homesteader in your area who has them, and just, you know, either buy the eggs from them, or, you know what I mean? There are so many options out there. So raising chickens is not for everyone. And that's a huge misconception, because I've noticed so many homesteaders that all say they have to have chickens to be a homesteader. And I highly disagree. You don't have to. You don't have to at all. If you don't want to, and it's not practical for your homestead, I would advise against it, to be honest. Like I said, it's practical for us. We actually enjoy the chickens too. We do actually have roosters on our homestead as well. So we do, we'll keep our hatching eggs, and we actually hatch out our own eggs every now and then. We'll bring in some new bloodline too, to, you know, circulate, but we hatch out our own eggs, and that saves us a lot of money as well. And then we also sell, we've sold our hatching eggs before. We have sold our day-old hens if we've hatched too many that we don't need. I have a tendency to fill the incubator, because you don't know how many of them are actually going to hatch. So there's been years where we've had amazing hatch rates, but it was just way too many for what we needed. So we have sold the excess, and that helps reimburse the cost of everything. So it is a little good side hustle as well, per se, I guess. But once again, only if that's something that calls to you. This video kind of turned more into like just a discussion instead of a facts thing, I guess. Where most Farmstead Financial Fridays are like, I have like usually like 4 or 5 papers, and today I got 2 little ones. But yeah, so there's just a lot to keep in mind with the cost of chickens, layer chickens specifically. You know, do you want to spend $5 for a day-old chick and, you know, start raising some? Do you want to get a ready to lay? I also think ready to lays, as much as I don't like them, they're not a bad price point. It's just a large investment at once. So if you're getting, so $16.90, and you're getting a bunch of those at a time, that dollar-wise adds up really fast. And so that's why the benefit of hatching out your own or day-olds is. But the reason that ready to lays are so expensive is because they are paying to hatch out the chick. They're paying to house the chick. They're paying the starter feed, the layer feed. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many additional costs. So it makes sense. It's just doesn't make sense for us on our homestead to do that. Okay, so I want to give you just a quick example too before I end this note. So we just recently actually ordered some hatching eggs. I was really struggling to get hatching eggs locally to me in my area, and I found somebody on Instagram who's here in Ontario as well, and she will overnight ship them. So a few other people locally have actually got eggs from her, so I hopped on that train and we ordered some eggs. And we actually just sent the payment over today because they're getting ready to ship out eggs to us on June 15th. So we ordered 3 dozen rainbow hatching eggs. So this couple raises a lot of specialty breeds and a lot of high-end beautiful breeds, and their eggs are speckled and beautiful, and they just have so many different heritage breed chickens as well. So we decided we were going to splurge a little bit and get a bunch of hatching eggs and fill the incubator up and see what happens. And what we paid her was $240 for 3 dozen eggs. So $80 a dozen is what we just paid her, and that is a lot of money for some hatching eggs. And if you know, look at all our costs involved with it, our incubator, we'll call that a write-off, because I feel like that has paid for itself over and over and over again already. So that cost is really nothing to us anymore. The amount of hydro that the incubator uses is probably a sliver, to be completely honest with you. But so at $240 for those hatching eggs, we could potentially have those hatching eggs paid off in like just a couple months worth of eggs. So that's the way to look at it too. I look at it that way for a lot of things. So like I said, on a high a month, so actually let's quickly do some math. It would actually take 3.3 months to pay off those with our low end of eggs that we use personally in a month. Anyway, friends, that's kind of all I have for you today. That was just a very basic, simple discussion, we'll say. It was a simple discussion today. If egg layers are worth it for you or not on your homestead. Weigh your pros and cons, sit down and figure out the price differences. I would always recommend hatching out, but we enjoy it personally. We also love that our kids get involved with it. So once again, it boils down to a personal preference, but just look at your cost, because if it's not practical for you, then do not do it. We did not have an incubator for the first few years that we were homesteading. That was just financially not in the picture for us. Actually, both our incubators, we actually picked up secondhand, and the one wasn't even opened. It was still brand new. The lady had bought it, didn't actually want to use it. So we did not hatch out our own eggs for the first few years. We actually bought day olds and ready to lays because that is what we could do at the time. So do with what you can. Don't stress yourself and don't overthink it. Just have fun with it. Do what you can. So anyway, friends, that was a whole lot of rambling into one video, and I hope it was somewhat helpful to you, even in the teensiest bit of way. I hope it was helpful. Anyway, friends, thanks for watching. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're just nosy and you want to see what's going on, because we have a lot of fun things coming up on our homestead soon. So anyway, friends, thank you so much for watching and enjoy your day. Bye.